Here we go, an episode I've been waiting to do for a while. This one's on doppelgangers, mimics, and changelings.
Man, can you imagine seeing your double?
That's what I'm saying. This dude, you're just walking by and he's exactly you.
It would freak me out just a little bit.
Well, apparently. So we'll start from the beginning. Zoroastrianism. Basically,
It's a big word.
duality is the old religion. You hear about it in history class. It's like chapter 1, who knows. But Arua and Angra represent good and evil. They're the duality. So they're like twins. One's the good twin, one's the evil twin.
All right.
Big trope in movies, big trope in shows. Like, which one are you going to shoot? There's two guys standing there. Which one are you going to shoot? You know?
Right.
The twin thing. So...
The Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man?
Exactly, all the Spider-Man doppelgangers. Yeah. All right, so that's just the start. That's the super old reference. But I'm going to start with changelings, because this is a very Irish, folksy, Scottish, English fairy tale, basically. Right. Fairies are huge in Ireland. So if you ever talk about, these are all crazy, drunk Irish people. They believe in fairies. They believe in, like, all these mythical creatures.
A lot of whiskey.
So Scottish folklore depicts fairy creatures named changelings. So there's a bunch of different ways I've seen the story told. So I'll just start with the first one. Adult fairies are obsessed with the beauty of humans.
Really?
So they're obsessed. They look at us. They want to be like us. And changelings can shapeshift. They can like morph into us. So the big story with changelings is they're swapping out real human babies for changeling babies, because they are so jealous of human beauty.
That's a crazy thought.
So they believe that these changelings, they come in, they take a perfectly healthy baby, and they replace it with a baby that's sickly or, stillborn or, just rough.
What?
Has all types of health problems, all types of things, and they just slip it in, take the good baby back to fairy world, and, they love the pretty baby, the pretty human baby, and they raise it as their own, and the baby has a great life in the fairy world. And the parents are left with the changeling baby.
So do you think that's like a coping mechanism then? Like this story, myth?
Right, so if you don't actually want to think it's a myth, this could be just the parents being like, oh, my kid has, like, autism, like, it's probably just a changeling. They just swapped out my completely healthy baby, or whatever, disease, polio, whatever.
Right, it was like, you talk about Scottish lore, it's like banshees are in Scottish lore, too.
Yeah, banshees. Yeah, we were talking about what was the state with the banshees? We got to do an episode on that. North Carolina,
but banshee is Scottish folklore, too, where it's every wealthy family in Scotland has its own banshee.
Oh, like attached to their name?
Attached to their name, like the family crest or whatever.
Oh, that's kind of sick. I gotta look into that.
That it's like if your death is near, you hear the banshee scream.
What?
Yeah, that's Scottish lore too.
I never heard that.
Yeah,
I gotta look into banshees. And each family I only heard of the banshee in Carolina. I remember they bring them into the ocean to drown them or whatever.
And they have their own.
So that was the big thing. These things would come, and the one thing is that they're envious of the human children, so they take the human children and bring them away.
So you ever think of like Captain Hook?
Oh, like
Tinkerbell?
The Neverland thing?
Yeah, Tinkerbell comes and takes them away to Neverland.
It's kind of like the what's the Piper?
Pay the Piper, right?
Or the Piper that leads the children away.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yep. I'm trying to think. Pied Piper.
Yeah,
like he leads the. It's kind of sketchy.
It's
a little scary. Like those. Like I'm gonna lead the children away to a fairy world and take them away from their parents.
Yeah.
It's very like Epstein Island.
For myself.
Yes.
Because I'm obsessed with beauty.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
And these are these fairy creatures, and they just don't have the full beauty of the humans. Some things are wrong with them,
disformed or
and that's we're gonna get into that later too with mimics and doppelgangers. Yeah. There's always something a little off. So that's the big story. There's some terrible rumors. Uh-oh. So in Scotland, just like we would do in the Salem witch trials, people in Ireland would take these children and put them in extreme situations to test if they're changeling babies.
What?
So now the child grows up, it has some problems, and who knows? Back then, they could say anything's a problem. The kid could be yelling, and it could be like...
Everything was oh my God, this is a demon baby.
Yes,
Any
exactly.
deformity
Yes. So, I mean, they would put them in front of, they would try to drown them. They would do, like, all kinds of things just to, like, see if they would revert into their changeling form.
Nothing like tying a cinder block to a baby's leg and seeing if it floats.
Exactly.
To prove it's not
it's the same thing as the Salem witch trial. Absolutely insane.
We're gonna set you on fire, and if you douse yourself out, you're good. Then God, you are pure.
But listen, the fairies have a code, okay? So there's another story in the lore where there is a forest where if the family were to bring the changeling baby into the forest and leave it under a tree, the changelings would be like, you got us, and they would give you back their real baby and take the changeling baby back.
You just get, like, fairy hands coming through.
It's like they have a code of honor. They're like, you got me. You beat me. Here it is. Here's your baby.
Is it like Winnie the Pooh where he lives inside his treehouse? Like, where it's just the cutout and...
Here comes the changelings. Yeah. They're like, oh, you got me.
Here's the exchange. It's like a drive-through forest, like through the window. Like,
here's your baby back. So another crazy thing is they have an aversion to iron. So I guess the changeling babies have kryptonite. It's so weird how these lores come about. Like, how are they just like, and...
they're just anemic.
Yeah, they're just like... We just don't like iron. So you can tell if it's a changeling baby by, I guess, kryptoniting it with iron.
We're going to put an iron... It's just like a demon thing, too. Like... Oh, if you press the crucifix on the forehead, it's going to burn into...
Holy water burns.
Yeah, holy water, right, yeah.
But theirs is just this very random, like, metal.
Yeah, we're going to put you under this bridge. Hold on. Touch the bridge. Don't touch the third rail, though. Those are some nasty videos on Twitter.
Oh, But I always thought changelings were interesting just because of the parent-child aspect. Obviously, the mental health aspect and the... Yeah. I mean... It just reminds me of the witch trials.
Like I think it reverts back to something being a coping mechanism.
Yeah, they can't explain it, so they're gonna ascribe it to fairy lore.
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't have the medicine back in 12 BC. It's fairies.
But also, just think about it. You had a completely healthy child, and then one day it just reverted to like having being sickly and having disease.
They thought they had a completely healthy child.
Correct.
They thought they.
But let's play off the fact that the paranormal is real.
I believe in fairies could be real, man. Fairies could be real.
Well, M. Night Shyamalan just came out with the Watcher movie, and it's actually based on fairy lore in Ireland.
Really?
In Ireland, yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it was kind of a boring movie.
Oh no!
It was worth a watch one time. I would never watch it again.
He kind of fell off, huh?
He's like a. I like to describe M. Night Shyamalan as a director that just bats 200.
Was that the
he can swing a million times. He has so many at bats.
Yeah.
That he hits one eventually.
Yeah.
And it's great. But then he just has so many clunkers, man.
Yeah.
He's like 10%.
Not a Hall of Famer, huh?
No, he's not.
Not a Hall of Famer?
Not getting on base very often. He wouldn't make it in Moneyball.
That ain't good.
But when he hits, he hits. I mean,
yeah.
Signs was great.
Signs was great. We just watched
that
Signs.
Alien walking by the screen is etched in my memory for all of eternity.
All the little Mexican kids screaming.
Yes, and the alien just looks at the camera like, what?
Yeah. It stops the freeze frame of it.
That's literally etched into my memory from childhood.
I think of when they were stuck in the basement and the
tinfoil hats.
Yeah. And it's dark. They hear it clunking around the upstairs.
Yep.
And then the hand just comes underneath the door and you see the fingers.
Yep.
That's what I think of from that movie. But
I just think of the freeze frame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the news. It's like Instagram video.
That was the scariest part. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen. At that point in my life, I think just that alien looking at that camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a fantastic movie, and Sixth Sense as well.
Sixth
Sense. You can't discount that as a fantastic movie.
Talk about classic M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
There's the major plot twist.
And then you just fall off and you come out with The Village.
See, now,
and I know The Village is actually controversial because a lot of critics liked it.
Yep.
And I just...
See, now back to Signs, I just think of him talking to the lady underneath the table. In his tent when he made his own little tent.
Oh, yeah.
And that part freaked me out when I was a kid.
That's a great movie.
That part freaked me out. When she was I don't know if she was psychotic or whatever it was, but she was...
But let's talk about, have you ever seen The Happening?
No, I never seen that happen.
This is the worst piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life. If you could play the clips of Mark Wahlberg in The Happening and M. Night Shyamalan.
Not good.
Some of the worst. I don't know if it was M. Night Shyamalan. Mark Wahlberg's not a bad actor. He's like a basic stand-in action actor or whatever. But in the movie, he's like, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Everyone who's seen The Happening will know what I'm talking about. But this movie was so terrible. So god-awful. I don't know how it was made. But M. Night Shyamalan just gets to keep swinging.
Now, did you see the one where it was like the end of the world? They were like in a cabin. They had a kid. And like 4 people come in. One of the 3 can't leave.
Oh, like Knock at the Cabin or whatever?
Yeah, is that the name of the movie? Then?
Yeah, that was a newer one. I guess it was supposed to play off the Bible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the whole thing. It was like the end of the world.
Yeah, I keep seeing I saw the preview for that, and I'm like...
It was just clunky. It was just boring.
Just a thriller.
Yeah.
Did you have?
And I even watched the old one on the beach.
Oh, really?
This is literally an M. Night Shyamalan podcast now. We watched Old on the beach, and it was pretty lame.
Lame?
I'm not going to lie. It had potential, and it's so lame. Good premises. Devil was good.
Devil was good.
On the elevator.
Yeah. The 4 people trapped. Yeah,
yes,
I remember that.
That one was good.
Yep. Did you happen to see the Halle Berry movie that's coming out?
No.
With like, it's kind of like an end of the world type of movie where it's like Don't Let Go or something like that.
No.
Yeah, they got to hold on to a rope.
What?
It looks crazy. Like
how have I not heard about this?
It looks fucking nuts, dude. Like I watched the whole.
How old's Halle Berry now?
Probably 55.
Yeah.
I'm sure she still looks good.
Yeah, and she's saving the world by holding onto a rope.
It's supposed to be Halle Berry, Return to Horror.
What?
Yeah, I gotta look up the name. Like, it was. It looks pretty good. It's like she has 2 kids and her.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's the end of the world that's happening, and they can't leave the house without holding onto this rope. And there's like a bunch of like fucking creatures out in the woods and dude, it's nuts. The trailer was nuts.
I gotta see this movie. I gotta figure out what this is.
Yeah, you can go on to the next one.
Yeah. So, I just want to cap off Changelings. What were we on? The Watchers.
And by the way, she's 58.
58 years. Halle Berry's 58 years old.
58.
Dude, life is over, man. It's going by like nothing, like a blink. So yeah, the Watchers. They were in a forest. Fairy creatures. They're jealous of the humans. They're trying to act like the humans take over. Yada yada yada. Long movie, way drawn out, but not terrible.
Never Let Go is the name of the movie.
Never Let Go. Okay, we're watching the trailer now. Trailer starts now. Record player.
And we got it muted, so he's not hearing any of the sound. But it's like they can't let go of this rope. Shit's going haywire outside.
They're like dancing in a basement. Is it like a quiet place or something?
I think a little bit of a quiet place in here.
Yeah.
But like I said, here's the isolation. Like the only way they can leave the cabin is to hold onto this rope.
What?
And as you see, one of the kids let go of the rope. And all craziness fucking starts happening.
This is bizarre.
It's like a witch, devil movie. Like, dude, it's crazy. Like, I want to kind of like put on the sound for you to just like see this. I'm surprised you didn't see this.
I'm surprised I didn't see this.
The horror master himself has not seen this trailer, and I'm showing him something.
All right, well, I won't ruin the podcast with it, but I'm interested.
It's definitely
interesting. I'm definitely interested.
We'll watch it afterwards.
Yeah. Did we cover everything about Changelings? I know we had the Great Changeling movie. I think it was from the 80s. Famous horror movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. I couldn't even comment on it, but I remember it being good when I did see it. Another example of just doppelganger, duality, as above, so below kind of things. The Hopi Indians believed in dualistic twins as well. So if we're looking at the evil twin motif, the Hopi Indians also believed in kind of like a what happens above happens below.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever seen Jordan Peele's Us, his movie's kind of based on doppelgangers, where things that would happen on the surface would also happen underground as like a mirror. And like I said, all evil twin stuff, which has been used in television and movies forever.
I think it kind of exists.
Yeah, like the evil twin.
But like I said, I believe in alternative timelines.
Right.
Shit like that, where sometimes that path cross. Like,
right.
Who says that? That one moment.
Yeah, and I'd like to get into the interdimensional stuff. I just want to point out, I don't know if you've ever just seen the soap opera, like Evil Twin. It's always just like a guy, and then another guy comes through and he has an eye patch, and that's like the evil twin version.
Jeez.
I just think of like Joey from Friends or something.
See,
like
I think of
Drake Ramore. Just
Joey from Friends. Yeah,
just like he's on Days of Our Lives. Like,
I hated
here's
Friends.
the evil twin. You didn't like Friends?
I hated it.
Friends on Seinfeld, just peak 90s.
See Seinfeld, but not Friends.
Oh, they're both great.
Friends is a little girly.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little girly.
A little bit. All right. Done with changelings. We're going to doppelgangers. So doppelganger in German means double goer. They're known as a harbinger of death. In a lot of German folklore, it's known that if you've seen your double 3 times, death is imminent and near.
Yep. Or if you speak to it, I've heard. Like, don't speak to your doppelganger.
Well, that's the big thing with mimics, actually.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get into mimics after. Doppelganger, so we'll see. So this is the big doppelganger story, and I'll get into this. This is Emily Sajay. So Emily Sajay was a teacher.
Okay.
She was working at a ton of different schools. She kept moving around, kept leaving schools. Here you go. She was kicked out of school for her work ethic. She worked at 19 different schools.
Lazy union employee.
Typical teachers union. This is back in the day. I don't know how long ago, but not in modern times.
Oh.
So she ended up at, this is where the main stuff started happening. She went to a snobby Latvian all-girls school.
All right.
So now when the girls were in class and Emily Sajay was, writing her whatever numbers on the board, they would see an exact replica of her, like an apparition almost, next to her, pretending to write on the board while she was writing on the board.
Really?
Yes. So the kids would see this. Let me just get into the rest of the story. They saw a double exact that, but it would mimic her motion. So almost like it was puppeting her.
Really?
So like anything she would do, it would kind of like mock her, like behind her, and do the exact same motion.
Like caught in a matrix.
Yeah, it's very strange, but this doppelganger would be next to her, and the students had all seen her. So one time, a supervisor came into the classroom. Emily Sajay was sitting in the chair. Kids are looking outside. Emily's in the garden.
What?
Emily is in the garden and in the chair at the front of the class.
2 places at one time.
In the room. 2 places at one time. So is this crazy? But anyways, these kids are going home. They're telling their parents. They're like, my teacher's in 2 different places. Like, and the parents are coming in here. They're like, what is happening in this school?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're teaching my children.
Yeah, that's a witch.
And this is Latvia, Eastern Europe. So
yeah.
They
definitely tied a cinder block to her. And fucking see if she floated.
But there's documented stories of all this. But the funny thing is, all these documents of this happening, there's no paper trail of her existence.
Really?
No birth certificate.
Well, yeah. When they threw her into the river, they had to clean up their paper trail.
But the story was passed down orally. The story was passed down through like documentation. Like this is all like been like it's a documented story.
See, now that just makes me think of like Trapped in a Timeline. Like here, you live this out. You're writing on the board, and it's like your interdimensional being being trapped in somewhere in the in between. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, It's like kind of it's hard to put into words like what I'm trying to.
I know what you're saying.
I know
what you're saying. I'm wondering more like the way I'm thinking about it is this is something attached to her.
You're thinking
that's
like attached.
draining her because there were also reports of her kind of being more sickly,
lazy
when the thing was around.
You called her lazy.
A lot of schools fired her for being lazy, but she would become more sickly.
Right.
Like her energy would be drained. And I'm thinking of it as almost like an
oppression,
an oppression,
an
exactly.
oppression.
Especially puppeting her, being around her.
Now, like a good movie reference would be like Insidious, where like when they take the snapshot, and you see the old lady getting closer and closer to the little,
getting closer, exactly. So when interviewed and asked about this, I guess Emily Sajay said, "There's nothing I can do. I can't see this image." So it's only her kids that are seeing this thing.
Well, that makes you, like, the innocence of children always...
Exactly.
Like, they have that heightened awareness.
Yep.
Like, when you were little...
The dogs and the kids always see the ghost before we can.
Like, when you were little, the shadow figures in your living room looked a little scary.
Yeah. There's also a report of a kid reaching through the double, but just passed through it like a ghost.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's some scientific
kind of interesting
spirituality.
We're talking about insidious. Maybe it's astral projection.
Yeah.
A lot of the times our spirit can leave our body.
That's nuts.
And you leave that vessel empty, and you don't know what's going to come in, and maybe that's how the oppression happened.
Yeah, maybe she messed around with a Ouija board or a seance, and something is draining her.
But that's one of the craziest doppelganger stories.
Yeah.
Just some random twin facts. Jim Lewis and the Springer twins were separated. They ended up marrying wives with the same name, named their kids the same name, and took the same vacations to Florida every year. So these are twins that were separated at birth, found to be living the exact same life, essentially.
That's a Maury Povich episode.
It's a Maury Povich.
That one is definitely a Maury episode.
Another instance of twins, Jack and Oscar. One was raised as a Jew, and one was raised as a Nazi.
What?
But when they got together, they had the same mannerisms. They had the same sense of humor. They were very similar. So this is like the whole nature versus nurture. Like
minus the big differential
of
not like
one being raised Hitler Youth and one being raised a Jew.
Going to a synagogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a crazy thing with like twins, nature versus nurture. They still ended up very similar.
I mean, there's connections like that. I mean, the telepathic abilities that they claim they have, like, oh, when they feel pain, the other one feels pain.
Right.
Or the feeling of not sitting right, oh, something's wrong.
Yep. And they sense things in the other.
Yeah, that we don't.
And these are all kind of like the concrete, real examples of like lookalikes and twins and body doubles. My favorite real one, actually, is Saddam Hussein. Very interesting story. He used body doubles on the front lines to make it look like he was, all powerful leader.
The mighty warrior out there, right?
So they would have auditions to be Saddam's body double. They would get plastic surgery to look like him.
Okay.
They would go through mannerism trainings on how to hold a towel and wipe sweat from his brow. They would go through how he spoke, how he did everything. And the craziest thing, he would test these doubles by like inserting them into family situations to prove that they could pass.
And we think people being fake on TikTok is a problem. That guy...
Like, you talk about an academy.
Yeah, going to the extreme on this.
Like, I'm going to the Saddam lookalike academy.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to walk into his family's house.
Yeah, that's
and pretend to be him.
It's funny, though. I just watched a YouTube video. Not funny, because all the...
Yeah, he's a terrible, horrible person.
Horrendous shit that they did there with him and his sons. But there's YouTubers that go to fucking Baghdad now and go to Saddam's castle or...
Oh, the palace.
His palace. And look at it and walk around. Yeah, a little off topic. A little off topic. I'm going on a tangent. While we're on Doppelgangers, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
What?
It's like a famous, it's a real big tuberculosis hospital.
Yeah.
There's rumored to be a doppelganger running around, though. So, like, when you go there, it's not uncommon to see a doppelganger of yourself.
So you walk in and you see yourself at this place?
Running around the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
What?
Yeah, it's one of the most common, like, haunted sightings of doppelgangers. There's many accounts, like, that people go on ghost tours or ghost
Allegheny,
walks.
New York? Or PA?
No, Ohio, actually. It's in Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in Ohio. Yeah, they go there and they see some fucked up things.
That's kind of intense.
Yeah,
Can you imagine walking into a lunatic asylum and seeing yourself like...
yeah, walking up
like
through the dark.
ghost.
Well, they said they always see, like, spirits and shadows walk from room to room. Like, think about that. Like, these giant hallways.
Like, abandoned hospitals and insane asylums must be the craziest places to go. There's your urban exploration, videos. Like, whenever they go to, like, a hospital that's been, like, abandoned or something.
Yeah, forget it. Between the homeless that probably are in there and the ghost.
And the amount of things that happened in the past.
Yeah, it's no thank you, hard pass.
One more real thing. Obviously, we could talk about deep fakes and AI. Also, we're seeing ourselves, and who knows? They can take over what you're saying and what you're doing. Yeah. And it's not like the government doesn't have the power to do that.
I mean, it could be a computer program, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a computer program.
Right. And then I want to get into kind of the spiritual aspect of doppelgangers. So I'm going to start with another presidential figure. I know we talked about Andrew Jackson.
All right.
Going down to the mansion. We're going to talk about Abraham Lincoln.
Ooh, that's a good one. I know that one.
So you want to talk about a doppelganger experience. This guy looked in the mirror and saw a sickly version of himself standing next to him in the mirror. His wife told him.
I wonder what happened to him.
His wife told him that means that you're not going to survive this presidency. You're not going to this presidency is going to go bad, basically.
Okay.
And I think we have an idea what happened to Abraham Lincoln.
I think he was shot in the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did make it through his presidency.
Do you ever? I know this is off topic too.
But it's just crazy that this is documented that he actually wrote about this, that he saw himself sickly standing next to him in the mirror.
Yes. Like, did you ever do, like, any of the connections between Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln?
No.
Like, both of them, like, assassinate, or, who was it, John Wilkes Booth, and I'm drawing a blank on Kennedy's guy. Oh, my God.
Why can't I? It's funny, we're doing this together right now. Yeah,
Oswald. That they both were caught in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
They were both, because John Wilkes Booth jumped onto the stage and was like, "This is for the Confederacy."
Yeah,
and broke his leg jumping out of the theater. Like,
Yep.
They both went to hide. It was Kennedy Theater, and then Kennedy was driving in a Lincoln. Like, there's
I never
like,
even thought about that.
There's like 10, like, synchronicities. Synchronicities. With this story.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Like, there's like 10, dude. Like,
that makes you think that, like, simulation theory. That's where I'm like, oh, we're going to put him in a Lincoln, and he's going to get shot, and then we're going to have Lincoln go into Kennedy Theater and
they both get shot in the back of the head. Like, I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of things with it, like that crossover.
I'm just going to repeat.
That's a
Use
crazy
the old storyline.
premonition that he had.
Yeah, it's wild that he saw
about-
himself in the mirror.
Yeah, sick. And like I said, he didn't die right away either. Like, he laid in bed for a couple of days after he got shot. Before
Really?
He died. Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, he didn't die right away.
That's insane.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
I never heard that.
little weird, right?
So, a little bit of Russian literature for you. Dostoevsky in 1846 wrote a book called The Double. In The Double, we meet a character that is kind of a nobody and is unknown amongst his people. Gets thrown out of a party, all of a sudden sees someone that looks exactly like him. All of a sudden, he sees this person show up at his job. Now he works at his job. Except this person's more charismatic, better with the people in his life, does everything better than him, essentially, and then works to sabotage him. And eventually the guy goes crazy and ends up in an insane asylum. But this is just saying, going back to 1846, we were talking about seeing someone exactly like yourself and the fear of that person being better than you.
Just think about that pressure.
And this is the scariest thing about doppelgangers to me. So we talk about, like, oh, you see him and you're going to die, whatever. Mm-hmm. But here's a doppelganger. Everyone knows they can do better. Everyone knows that, they're sacking it in some way in their life. All of a sudden, here comes this other guy, and everybody likes him better. So insert him into your life, and he does everything better than you.
Loser.
And he's ready. And he's ready to slide in, and everyone in your life and your employers and everything else, they like him better.
Oh, boy.
So they essentially think of him as the real you.
Sounds like
and eventually you fade off into irrelevance.
Yep.
And there's your interdimensional portal travel. What if someone's coming from a dimension where their place sucks? And they're working out and they're working hard and they're motivated to get better and they're doing all these things, and they come over to, lazy you sitting over here watching TV, eating cheese puffs. I don't know. And they're like, this dude's like wasting this amazing life while I'm eating cockroaches in my nuclear wasteland dimension. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to step in and I'm going to take over, and he does it better than you.
It's hyperinflation. He's living in a cardboard box.
Yes. And he just comes in and he's like, what is this? I'm taking over. I'm done with this. And no one's mad about him taking your place because he's doing better than you are.
Yeah, he's more likable and sociable.
Yeah, he actually wants to talk to people.
Yeah, go figure.
So that's I think is more scary than the fact that you're going to see him and that just means, oh, death is near.
Yeah.
Like the fact that someone could just jump in. Isn't that the Sixth Day? Isn't that Arnold Schwarzenegger? There's like a clone of him that comes in and takes over his life. He's like with his wife and kids and stuff.
The first thing when you mentioned Arnold, I just thought of Kindergarten Cop. Like, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah, the 6 days not usually on the top of the list for Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
And then Twins was right after that.
No Terminator? You went Kindergarten Cop, Twins?
Kindergarten Cop and Twins. Those are the first two things. And then Governor, probably number 3. Those are the... But yeah, that That'd be detrimental to your mental health.
Yeah, and I think it's like the perfect. My favorite kind of horror, and like obviously I'm a huge horror guy, but my favorite type of horror is the person that gradually goes insane.
Yeah,
and it's always been it's. I love demons and ghosts. I love slashers. I love thrillers. I love it all. But my favorite type of horror is the slow descent into madness.
There was a John Carpenter movie not too long ago. Yeah, and it was like it was a woman in an insane asylum. Yeah, and it was a great dude. I can't think of the name right now. Like I'm drawing a blank.
If you guys know it, put it in our Twitter.
But it was exactly that. Of
like the slow descent
into madness. Like she was like, "Oh, I'm not crazy." I'm like, and then it was like, "No, she's crazy."
Yes,
like, she's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite in the last 5 years. Did you see The Lake House?
No, I never have.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's an actress that can portray like. I think that is like the biggest sign of like whether you're a good actor or actress is whether you can portray like I'm with it, and then slowly just like this person's losing their mind. Now, just imagine doing that while a doppelganger's taking over your place, and you're just like trying to keep your shit together.
Yeah, that sounds pretty insane.
But The Lake House, fantastic movie.
That movie was called The Ward by John Carpenter.
The Ward?
The Ward.
Huh.
2010.
Those are my favorite kinds of movies.
It was great, dude. Like I'm telling you,
I'm thinking of John Garvey from The Leftovers. You ever see The Leftovers on HBO?
Never saw that.
He is like the perfect like actor that just goes. He was in The Crazies.
Okay.
You see The Crazies?
The original
he's the main guy
or
in the
remake? Okay.
Yeah. So he's the main guy in The Crazies, but he plays like going from like a normal person to like slowly losing his shit.
Yep.
And he does it so well.
It's awesome, dude. Like I said, it goes back to The Shining.
Those are my favorite actors. Yeah. Well, that was actually the one thing Stephen King was mad about is that Jack Nicholson was kind of fucking crazy from the beginning.
It's wild to think about, like being upset about that movie.
There's a TikTok compilation of the Shining made-for-TV movie from the 90s.
Oh, jeez.
With, like, the terrible CGI and, like...
Yeah.
And they're just like, this is the version Stephen King prefers. What a loser.
He is a loser.
He's such a loser.
The guy's a loser.
Stephen King, dude.
The guy's a loser.
I hate Stephen King.
What a fall from that. Fall from greatness.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
To think about, like, Pet Sematary.
I know.
Like, to think about Pet Sematary.
You could have just kept quiet, dude.
Just shut up.
Exactly.
Why are you bitching about The Shining?
I know.
Oh.
You could just ride that into the sunset. Hey, look at my category of books.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that was the greatest horror movie of all time.
Right.
Like, written by one of the most famous directors of all time, and he wanted to use my works.
Yep.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Just shut up.
I know. Loser.
What a loser.
Sorry, Stephen King fans.
Anything else on doppelgangers? I know we covered the dimension, we covered the inserting into you, we covered the real.
I always think of House on Haunted Hill. Do you remember that movie? When it was like the millionaire.
He invites all the people?
Yeah, he sends out the invite.
There's doppelgangers?
There's one doppelganger in there, and the guy sees himself walking through. He's like the bald guy in House on Haunted Hill.
I don't remember
during the night, like when they were walking.
I feel like I just watched that movie, and I don't remember the doppelganger.
Yeah, I remember like he sees himself like in the mirror, like.
That's the movie you go with doppelganger?
I just think of that one scene. That's all I think about is that one scene.
I'm trying to think of what other movie had I don't know. I think I'm pretty much spent on doppelganger.
Yeah, I'm good on it.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. All right. Well, this is the fun one for the TikTok kids. Mimics.
Ooh.
Couple different stories about mimics. There was actually just an episode on Tinfoil Hat if you guys want to go check it out on mimics. Guy wrote a book. I don't have his name. Sorry, I'm not giving the credit, but
go look up Tinfoil Hat.
Please go look up Tinfoil Hat and just look up mimics. And here, I might have the episode name. Let me see. I don't want to hurt this.
I mean, they get into wild and crazy things on that show repeatedly.
Nikola Tesla.
Really?
He's the guy who wrote the book on mimics and cryptids and lizard people and all those types of things.
Like the inventor?
Not Nikolai, it's like Nikola. I don't know. He wrote a book. He looks like an old professor type dude.
Are you sure?
Cool episode of Tinfoil Hat, though.
Like Tesla? Like the actual
Or unless
guy?
he's just actually talking about Nikola Tesla, and that's not his name.
Probably. I would think it would be Nikola
You're
Tesla.
100% right. It's Tim Schwartz. Guys, go check out Tim Schwartz on Tinfoil Hat and read his book, because this is He's got a lot on mimics and things.
Now, that would have been nuts if Tesla actually
Tesla was like, dude, mimics are all about things.
Now, you go back to a guy that actually descended into madness is
Nikola
Tesla.
Yep.
He created
Well, they robbed him of everything, too. I think that was probably part of it.
Well, just think of, like, wireless communication. He did it in 1900. Like,
he had it all set.
It was already there, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. Wavelength and everything like that, communication through waves.
They robbed it all.
It's all him. Yeah, that's a descent into madness. Go read his last, 25 years of his life.
Ugh.
Sad.
Yeah. So Tim Schwartz wrote this book about mimics. I don't have a ton of information from him, but I know he was talking about mimics as more like people trying to be like us. So they would be like us, but they would have another characteristic that didn't make sense as a human, like long fingers or long gangly legs or, a accentuated smile, like the movie Smile. Like that would be kind of like a doppelganger.
Right,
yes. You see yourself, but a little fucked up.
Features are off a little bit?
Yeah, the features are just a little bit off. And these people would just be in society.
Kind of like our president right now, Joe Biden. Is that a mimic?
Grew a couple of inches.
That video was nuts.
That video, I just look back at that video. I'm like, no one's going to talk about the fact that this dude's hot. I mean, people are talking about it, but it kind of went away, too.
He was like 6'5" in that video. That was a little
With
weird.
no hunch, good giddy up in his step.
Very, very good stepping in that one.
But this goes into like lizard people and all these things, like just people portraying themselves as humans with like a messed up feature.
Really?
Yeah. So you think about the lizard eyes, you think about like whatever. But
did you actually hear Nancy Pelosi say reptiles?
No.
The one interview.
What?
Dude, it was not. I wish I had it. I gotta pull this up.
What did she say? She just said something about reptiles?
She misspoke, apparently. Allegedly.
She misspoke about the lizard people? Our lizard overlords?
Allegedly.
But yeah, I mean, I've heard these stories where they talk about mimics as like real things that are interacting in society, which could be closer to lizard people, which could be closer to disguised people that embed themselves in our society.
You ready?
Yes, let's go.
Discreet, reptilian, cold-blooded. These are the races we have to win. Others are winning the whole time.
Did you hear what she said?
Reptilian,
We're different
cold-blooded.
from the president. We're very discreet, reptilian.
Oh, we're very discreet reptilian.
These are the races we have to win.
What?
Others are
Yeah.
So she described herself as being a cold-blooded reptile.
Cold-blooded reptile at the DNC. That's wild. That's insane.
You think she just did that for bait at some point? Because
No.
how clueless can you?
I think that was the reptile. That was the reptile mimic at the DNC. Yeah, that was a wild.
But that's the one story about mimics is that they're actually physical beings and they're embedding themselves in society and yada, yada, yada.
Proof.
Not the fun version of mimics for me. I'm a ghost guy.
Proof. We just dropped some proof.
So the mimics on TikTok are a lot of family members and close people in their family who will be calling out from like beyond a room door or, from outside the door, and they'll be saying things, but the things don't always make sense. They'll be like, Tina,
Get the applesauce.
hey, apple, blue. Like, they don't have...
Why is Peyton Manning in my kitchen?
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Or what was this state? Omaha. But yeah, there's a lot of good videos on TikTok. I'm sure, I always put the disclaimer out that 99,999 million whatever are fake out of the billion. But you never know, and I never want to discount people because, like I said, we've had paranormal experiences that were real.
Yeah.
And who knows? But I would say, for the most part, they're fake.
Yeah.
But also very creative, and I like the creativeness. I like it. If you can creep me out at 3:00 in the morning, that's cool.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit more. I need Nancy Pelosi talking about reptiles on national television to creep me out.
But the videos are good, so they'll hear these voices, but they can't put together full thoughts. They're very simple, and that's one of like the big things. So it's been said that they're elementals, and when we were doing our Randonautica episode, I know you said at 3:30 a.m. you were hearing voices out of your kitchen.
Yeah.
Between 3 and 4 is the witching hour.
Yeah, to mimic the
Christ. And you said you heard a voice, and you thought it might have been your wife. You thought it might have been another lady. You had no idea.
100%. 100%.
So you were looking, you were checking, making sure things were awake, but you heard a voice from your kitchen.
And like I said, that was something with, like, I think to do with this podcast.
And a lot of looking shit up, too.
That's what I'm saying.
Also, yeah, we would never discount the fact that this is all in our heads now because this is what we're researching and looking into.
It was a couple of creepy things the past probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in once you open that door,
You give it power.
you're focusing on it, you're giving it attention. And like I said, I heard something in my kitchen. My wife was in the bedroom.
Asleep.
Sleeping.
Right.
Out. Dog, out. And it didn't come from the bedroom.
And there was a voice.
There was a voice. Like you heard it. I heard it clear as day. Clear as day. And it freaked me out.
So one of the theories I read that I thought was the most interesting is that these could be elementals. So these are spirits. They're not necessarily a soul or a ghost, but they're actually just a beam of negative energy.
Negative, really?
Negative energy that forms like a spirit that has low levels of intelligence.
All right.
So it's easy to be found out as fake.
Did you ever watch the show The Dead Files?
No.
You ever watch that?
No.
They had it was like a New York City detective, and he would go in and find all the facts on the property, the history of the house, the history of the land, everything. Go to look up newspapers, what happened, what crimes were there.
Yeah.
And then they would bring in a medium, and and then she would do a reading of the house.
Yeah.
And they would meet at the end and match up the information, and it was a pretty interesting show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I enjoyed it, but they used to see a lot of things. Like she used to see a lot of things that were unexplainable, and not just saying like ghostly creatures.
Yeah.
Like creatures. Like she would see creatures, and like they would have like a sketch artist draw them out for her, like what she saw, and that makes me think, because Elementals was a big part of that show, where she wouldn't just see the lights, she would see fucking I don't even know, a turkey with fucking giant claws and 3 heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be a creature from another dimension, and
Jesus.
it was crazy. Like that just made me think of that, though. Like
That's actually interesting.
it was like I said, go watch that show, dude. Like
The interdimensional stuff is really interesting.
you think about it, so baselines too, like Ghost, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's just Ghost or people that were here. I think it could be things that were.
Well, and that's why I thought this theory was so interesting, because if it's just negative energy that creates the spirit,
Yeah.
so the spirit wasn't a thing before. It's not like a soul.
Right.
It's not like a tormented soul wandering around. It's like, no, like there's stress and there's like
right.
or something
Right,
happened
emotion.
in this area. Yep, negative energy
Right.
just forms, and it actually creates a being
Right.
that doesn't really have autonomy.
No.
It's not a real thing.
No.
But it's there, and it's making noises, and it's just a mimic. It's
Right.
mimicking what it hears. So it heard someone talk, and it just tries to mimic. Like, oh, you come home, and your wife says, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're home."
Right.
And the mimic's thinking like, "Home? How are you? Home?
Right,
Home?" Trying to mimic like that kind of thing, and it's just
It's unintelligent.
something so low intelligent, easy
Right.
to spot out, but it's trying.
Right.
So who's to say this can't grow in power?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think it does. I think it puts a dark energy in rooms and places.
But that's one thing that I guess mimics aren't as scary as doppelgangers, because mimics don't have intelligence. And it's been said that they'll call out to you, and if you follow them, they'll walk into a room, you'll follow them into the room, and it won't be there.
Won't be there.
Because it doesn't have the ability to manifest. It's not a real thing. It's
Right.
just
Ambient.
negative energy.
Yeah.
Ambient.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
But, yeah, mimics are interesting. Like I said, I wanted to do this episode for a long time. I like to just get that out there. Changelings are interesting, the fairies, whatever. Doppelgangers are kind of wild, and it's kind of wild how far they go back in history.
Yep.
I like the idea of an elemental, of something that can come out of nowhere
But
and
you-
exist
You have,
and
like,
try to mimic our being.
think of like Native Americans. Like, their land is like, you'll see like elementals and
Yep.
just balls of light in the
Well,
woods.
it's so funny you mentioned that, because the Anasazi believe in a creature called the Wendigo.
Okay.
And the Wendigo is a creature that'll fuck you up.
Uh-oh.
scratch you, eat you, claw you to death. Have you ever played Until Dawn on PlayStation? This is the Wendigo.
Right.
They were mimics. So Indians believed in mimics from before. They would mimic voices to lure in prey. So yeah, it's crazy. These Wendigo creatures, they lure you in by mimicking someone you know. So it's crazy that it goes back that far to actual Native American folklore.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And everything always goes back to the Native Americans or...
They're spiritual. They're connected with nature. I mean...
That's it.
If anybody's going to have creatures and shit calling them out, man, it's going to be people that have been around a long time.
Yep.
Long time.
Yeah. Any thoughts on mimics?
I don't want to run into one.
You might have already.
Or here. Yeah,
you might have already.
No, I'm actually scared.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you checking this episode. I wanted to do it for a long time. Please like, share, subscribe. If you give us a 5-star review and you say something, we'll read it on the podcast.
Yeah, we will. Thanks for checking this out, guys.
Yep. TikTok, Twitter, everything. We'll see you next week.
Later.